you have to understand that the American presence and how it affects world cultures and how it supports imperialism and world dominance.
Really intro this in.
Boom. So yo, we back again with the next episode of Grease Talk. I'm gonna call you number because I know I got me wrong, but I here with Jupiter Frost, the Silver Surf of Consciousness.
Blessings.
The Rhythm Rider, the Buddha Balance, and I wow. You trim up with my whole intro.
The Almighty, the Midnight Robber.
Intro. Thank you.
Midnight Robber, the multi-talented Midnight Robber.
The age of that chaos, because I know real men, digging around how to be behaving on the podcast and stuff, but we can give up.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
we don't care.
So we're here with Tamba, one of the greatest percussions in the Caribbean right now, and we really appreciate him. So Tamba, thanks much for joining us tonight and giving us your time. So
Blessings.
Yeah, man.
So tell us a little bit about you and how you came up in the ranks as a musician, just contributing to the culture of Trinidad and Tobago from the musical perspective.
Well, wait, for the youths that don't know,
All right.
who is Tamba Gwindi?
All right, Tamba is a drummer percussionist from South Trinidad, from Coquille Village originally. I got introduced to drumming through my father on the kitchen table
Nice.
of our home in Coquille, and went through secondary school, getting in trouble with teachers and stuff, playing desk in the wrong time, beating desk in the wrong time. So I was either put out of class or put to stand up in the back. That's a whole story. While in school, I got involved in the consciousness movement of the 70s. Well, actually, at St. Stephen's, we had students and teachers who would go and demonstrate. I remember that well. I was just into Form 1. And the demonstrations in 1970 took place, and some teachers and students would go to march and all that.
Wow.
I became a member of NJAC in the mid-70s, about 75 to 76. And that's where drumming, I got directly involved in drumming, actual drumming. Growing up was beating the kitchen table, and my father was into calendar. He had loved stick fight. And so he taught me the basic rhythms and stuff, and he would unscrew the broom handle and carry and thing in the kitchen.
Okay, yeah.
Nice.
A whole fun thing.
Sorry, can you pronounce your name
Carry.
Carry. That's the
Carry.
stance the stickman the stick when they go into battle.
And the stick fighting, that's still an active and thriving sport in Trinidad and Tobago?
Yes, it is.
Really?
I think it's going through a revival actually. Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen some youths and proper and
because
busting up their head.
there's a
and learning to
calendar
dance
foundation like established now.
Okay.
Yeah, where the guys are actually teaching the rhythms and teaching the songs and the whole philosophy behind it, everything. Yeah, so it's on the rise.
And that's like a proper martial arts.
It is, yeah, it's recognized as a martial art, yeah.
Yeah, actually, calendar is supposed to be like a encompassing all-purpose term, because they say calendar precedes calypsona, and they were saying that's where the calypso came from, the calendar. So it could be calendar in song, it could be calendar in dance. You could talk about that a little bit.
Well, calendar is the component of improv has its roots, that is rooted in calypso, has its original roots in calendar and bongo.
Okay.
Right? Bongo is what was played at wakes. Bongo is the rhythm and the songs and stuff. The games and all that was played at wakes. When somebody died and they have the nights of wakes and so on, bongo was originated there. But what happened in the bongo was that the guys who would really be the live wire of the bongo would improvise and create songs on people. Like if somebody walk in at the home, they might make a commentary on the dress or how they walk or whatever, and that becomes the song in there.
Right.
So
See,
like
Abebele,
example, like
the last
example.
episode
Yeah.
with Abebele, for reference.
Yes.
So that was the inception of
That's the roots of calypso, that and calendar.
okay.
Nice.
The whole warrior aspect of the calypso has its roots in calendar.
So it was very African-esque.
Yes, it was.
And where did our culture started to dwindle away in terms of the African ideology and the ethos of it? Because right now we have such a a very strong American ideology down here right now. Like, because everything you're talking about in terms of the culture, I haven't seen that in the pop industry now. Like the pop ethos of Trinidad and Tobago, I don't see that. I see the Zassas, I see the socas, I see
the speeding ones.
and nothing wrong with that, you know. It's just we don't see the roots.
One side.
Well, the roots you really don't see and you wouldn't see because I don't think it was designed for us to see these roots, that we would be inspired by these roots to take our lives and our culture in a particular direction. Because we have to understand that the American presence and how it affects world cultures and how it supports imperialism and world dominance.
Especially white imperialistic system.
Right. It's what we see at play, we have seen over the years at play in Trinidad. In subtle ways and through the music, through the arts. And that is why our arts haven't been our locally created arts that would have been of a conscious, that would have sung conscious lyrics, would not have been put in the forefront, would not have been in the forefront as it should have been over the years. So this is why you would not see the consciousness that you hear us talking about who grew up in the 70s. It would be as if we were speaking of a whole different era.
But also I feel like you're not very technologically inclined, because when you look at the younger demographic, how they are marketing their propaganda, because the content that they are putting out, I think is propaganda because they're promoting a negative lifestyle that is going to be detrimental for them, whether it's in the long term or the short term. And you could have the rhetoric about the reporters and they're just reporting on a community and what's happening, but by creating a billboard out of that lifestyle, you know, inspiring other people, whether it's from the higher echelons of society or from the lower ones, to be partaking in that negative culture. And what's happening there is that they have a very strong, like I said, a technological understanding of how to propagate their story. And the older ones, the roots, they don't. They're still trying to pass it on via voice or song when they don't have time for that.
The
Traditional ways.
methods.
Well, that you can't avoid that. What has to be done is that we need to transfer some of this message to the younger people, who would take the technology and take that message further up. Just as how my grandparents passed the message to me, certain messages to me, and they were further way back from where the technology is now.
True,
but they
very
pass
true.
valuable messages.
Very
You
true.
know?
That's still
But
alive
what is
today.
naturally going to happen is that the generation that is here now, the young generation and the future, those to come, going to take the technology in places that just as how my grandmother couldn't dream of certain things.
I mean, Tamba, that song's really nice, but I see what you're talking about in Calypso, but then they carried on for a specific period of time and then they just throw that shit by the wayside. Like, we play with it in primary school and then we carry it in the secondary school and they're like, fuck that, this is making money, we're going for something else. So, like, how do we get them to stick with it? Because we see a lot of Calypsonians, young Calypsonians who start off and they're like, I love Calypso, and whether it's a financial pit hole that they fall into or they want to feel like they're trending because they want to jump on the newest bandwagon, anyway you take it, they throw it to the side. So why do you think we as a culture, we keep throwing our own shit to the side? Like, we're not patriotic about it at all. And I think we have a lot of self-hate, and I don't know where it's coming from.
Well, the self-hate, I could tell you where it's coming from, and you could know it too if you research it. You know, we were not, these islands that we live in, we were not, we did not come here to rule these islands, you know, or to create any substantial culture or civilization out of these islands. You know, we came here as slaves.
Yep.
Yeah, so what is happening now is not part of the original design.
Right.
And but you would always find young people, even the Calypsonians who are senior now. If you look at the history of guys like Sparrow, when they came, the elders looked at them as a threat. The elders saw the art being threatened by the fact that they were bringing these youngsters coming with a different kind of thing that we're not accustomed to.
Yeah, they were evolving it.
I remember when Kitchener openly criticized soca music, and he says it's not calypso, and he was very vocal about it. And then he went and he produced one of the top soca's of all time, Sugar Boom Boom.
Wow.
But he did that right almost in the midst of his criticism of soca music.
Of soca music.
So you're going to have that.
So he chastised soca and then he went and just
And
did one.
Yeah.
Why? So you wanted to show them how to make it better, or you was just trying to jump on the bandwagon? Because Casey and I come across a lot of old producers who would say back in the day, Calypso is dead and they're going to do reggae. So what was his process? What was he thinking about? Why would he chastise it and then want to go and do it?
And funny enough,
I can't debate his process.
Funny enough, the same producer who produced Sugar Boom Boom is the guy who said to Ras Shorty, Calypso is dead, we go in and work on reggae. Which was Ed Watson. Shorty said that in an interview. So for them to say that now and then produce one of the biggest pop soca calypso in the history, that baseline epic.
Yeah.
You know, but I know we going down that direction, but I just want to tack back a little bit. So Tamba, after you beat up the table,
Right.
going from we going with the timeline. So you beat up the table while all this was happening in the country, Black Power movement, the rebellious Calypsonians doing soca, bad talking soca and doing soca. You're beating up the table. What we going from there?
You get in trouble in school for drums.
Well, I continued on as a member of NJAC, still listening to the music. I remember when, the Black Traditions in Art series, at that time was really tuning into Andre Tanka and what Jaja Onilu was doing with the percussion. I was already playing, but I wasn't that much out front. Because at that time, drummers around the organization would have been doing African naming day ceremonies and weddings and cultural events that would develop around what the organization was doing. I was attached to the cultural arm of the organization.
But tell us about this.
Yeah.
The
National Joint Action Committee.
Yeah.
Nice.
But tell us about the settings of the events and them.
Okay, well, a lot of these events, as Makesi was telling me that we needed to talk about the naming and the names and stuff. There was a whole period at that time, well, let's say middle to late 70s, or even earlier, even before the time I really got involved, where people were giving their children African names.
Right.
And what the organization developed was a ceremony, a naming ceremony, and we drummers, we would play at these ceremonies. And that was a major thing we did. That was before I came into music professionally. Because when 1983 came, 83 was a significant year for me because a turnaround took place in what my emphasis was in my life, and I decided I wanted to go totally into drumming. And that same year, a master drummer from Senegal visited Trinidad.
Wow.
Mocham.
Nice.
Yeah, he did workshops here. And that same year, I did a performance to open for Andre Tanka at NUGFW Hall.
Nice.
And Andre invited me to play with his band. And later the same year, I did the first concert with him. And from then on, it just... Snowballed, man. Andre, Michael Bootman, Clive Zander. Then I started playing the tents. Well, that's when I worked with a lot of Calypsonians.
So just to be very specific, your song is what is your song like? Traditional jazz/calypso, jazz calypso, traditional calypso? Because like when I hear...
I would think more Afro.
Yeah, I want to believe you start more spiritual drumming first.
Yes.
And then, you get into the more artistic side of it.
Because I've seen you playing with a couple of local jazz acts.
Yeah.
And I've always associated you with that particular song.
Well, the years of experience put me into all these genres of music. I played in the tent for like 23 years.
Wow.
I played with Andre Tanka and Ella Andal. So that was music that was influenced by the Orisha tradition and fusion. Because Andre was very much into fusion.
Andre Tanka was practicing Orisha?
Yes, he was, you know.
Oh, wait, wow. Hold on. So was Andre Tanka, his first instrument was the guitar?
He played vibra harp, but I think he started with quattro, you know. If you look at his younger years.
And speaking about the quattro now, people, we have something called Lubex.
Lubex
Is
90.
great. It's great for anything you want to loosen up. Whether it's a guitar, a gal, a bolt, wherever you need to loosen up, this guy loosen it up.
No,
Cross take it with.
there's like, you know that one in the blue can with the red cover. We can't call the name.
Yeah.
It's like that on steroids. Because remember, that just 40. As Makesi was saying, it's just 40.
Yeah.
It had to come twice and more than that. It had to come twice and more than that to reach here. And it still ain't as good. So, loosen up the scene with Lubex.
Now back to you, Tamba. So,
Yes.
Andre Tanka, he was very, very prolific in Trinidad and Tobago. He contributed so much. And how was that experience being around somebody at that junction in your life where you seeing this person developing as a musician, developing as a musical black or a better term, a musical genius, I would say?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I was tuned into Andre's music. We were hearing Andre when he did Back Home and stuff with St. James Drummers and all that. So that was what we were hearing in the 70s in terms of conscious music. And then when the Black Traditions and Art series came about, I was a committee member who was involved in doing the decor for the place and running the bar and stuff at these events because I was on the cultural committee. So I would like take a break from any of these things and go and listen to his music. So playing with Andre was like a kind of dream come true thing.
Nice.
Yeah, because by the time I started work with him in 83, it was like if between 76 and 83 I've been listening and looking and stuff, you know? Yeah. So, but Andre's contribution, I don't know. There's a whole lot of the history of our cultural influences that will be found in Andre's music. You know, and that is what it is like that time of period in history then that this particular music came about, and maybe further years down the road we'll tune in and realize that this era passed, that this music was played, and we, like if it passed us then. As if it did that, you know?
Because, and I think that's because like we have such a melting pot of so many different cultures. The music doesn't sound like it comes from a homogeneous place now. So that is why it's usually it's somewhat at the head of the time. It's only when the culture or the society has integrated to a new ideology, philosophy, and from a biological standpoint, we could appreciate something because it's usually ahead of its time.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Tamba, when it came to, because you mentioned something there, in 1983, something major change happened, but you didn't say what it was.
Yes, you didn't say what it was.
A major change in relation to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, and your music. It went from beating table and classroom desk.
All right.
Yeah, made in 1983. That number stick in my head. Guy born in 84.
Yeah,
so one
me
of
too,
the change was me that come in 84.
Yeah.
Yes,
No, I got what one could call a spiritual
awakening?
No, it was a spiritual experience, boy. I can't even know if it was an awakening.
I'm going to ask a spirit lash, because I mean...
people just get that.
Yeah. That would have been a good lash, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
Depending on who talking.
Yeah.
Let's get these up lash and thing too.
And because of the fact that I had changed my name in 79, I went through a ceremony to change my name in 79. And in 90, when that experience took place in 83, I was taken back to 79 in terms of what, if for want of a better word, my mission statement was.
What sparked the name change?
Yeah.
And
I was called back to that to say, as if to say, don't forget, this is what you committed yourself to.
And what spiritual practice is that?
By your very words.
Right.
It was not a spiritual practice in the sense of that I was in the process of practicing something. It was like a visitation or a vision or something like that took place. I can't even explain it, define it. Exact words.
So what are you, a Christian, a Baptist, like what exactly, a Roman Catholic? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I am a man,
You're a man, so you don't stand for religion.
I am inclined to the Orisha tradition.
Okay.
I am not a devotee in the sense that I have the experience of being a practitioner for all these years and stuff. But I am inspired that way. Very much like what Andre was, but even though I can't speak for the details of Andre's his connection, but I know he was connected.
So you have a very strong foot on your African heritage, and how does it make? And you're from South, right?
Yep.
So how does it feel when you hear a lot of different people from different ethnicities making brass statements like black people are lazy? Because you hear it all the time, like we don't want to work, we don't do this, blah blah. When we have been placed at a disadvantage from the word go, and how do you combat that? Because I hear it a lot in the elderly community. I hear it a lot in the I mean, to be quite frank, I hear it all over the place.
Yeah,
and it comes from a place of
yeah.
ignorance. But I hear it primarily in the Indian communities a lot. I'm not using you as a...
No. I'm totally fine with that as an Indian person, I could tell you. And I believe personally
Hold up, you
because...
tell me you... No, yeah.
Why are you telling people I'm Indian?
I'm sorry.
What?
That was like years ago, dog. That was like 12 or 9 or something.
Hey, disclaimer, we talking... It's
Yeah,
not a...
that shit.
It's,
No, but
Kapila, take
as
me serious,
an
huh?
Indian person, right? Who the majority of my friends growing up was black, because of the schools that I went to and thing, and then I went away and thing, and I had experiences where, look at simple as it is, I went to school in Mexico. It was a private school where all the kids were like this color white, you know. You understand? And they used to call me Atto Bolan son, not Atto Bolan, Dwight York son, because all they know is football, and you black. You understand? You black. They used to call me negro.
yeah, because you're black.
You understand?
And that would blow my mind. Like,
And
most
so-
Indians don't know the black.
So check this vibes, right? So then I went to school in Texas after, and white kids would call me towel head, Pakina, towel head,
Wow.
Paki. And then so I went to Brooklyn after in 2003 to vibes with my cousin and them, and you know everybody thought I was a red man. So when I come back Trinidad now and I start to see all this racism and madness going on down here, I studying what's going on with my people now. Like my people dotish or something now.
Yep,
Because
yep.
all are we black down here. All are we
Yep,
black.
yep.
You understand? We just different complexions are black, but we still black. You understand? And so again, back to my point, you know, that I believe that a lot of Indian people, the racism, they stem from a fear of black people. Because black people are more dominant in a sense, and they're more very verbal and aggressive in the way, right? Indian people are not so much like that. And I think it's a fear. It is stem from a fear. Because most of the Indian people that I know personally that have little racist undertones and tendencies is because of a fear of black people.
Well, here's the thing, and this is our observation, and I could be absolutely fucking wrong, but just from like a tribalistic standpoint, I think most racism that emerged from the Indian communities, it's a bit of tribalism because Indian
You
people
get it from coming
Indian
down.
people tend to move in a pack. Black people, because we were broken and beaten and divided, we tend to be very self-absorbed, and not in a negative or positive
I don't
sense.
think
It's just observing
self-absorbed
it
is the
now.
right word.
Yeah,
I think more, remember,
We're much more self-driven. Like we find it very difficult to band together to create or to
because of
accomplish.
slavery said, hey, you gotta catch your ass by yourself. No, nobody would come and help you.
I mean, just
You understand? So a man had to kind of...
It had a lot of things that contribute to why we are as a people, and I like to always coin the term that Trinidad is not a real place, hinged on the fact that Trinidad society was engineered. It was created.
Yes.
The colonizers took some people from Africa, they took some people from India, they took some Chinese, and there were Amerindians here.
Yeah.
And we ended up in this melting pot, a kind of palau.
Yeah, they know what they
You
did.
know,
They know
and
what they did.
Because of that, you find, yes, when it comes to creativity, the things that we make would be palatable across all fields, as Zane said earlier, where our music seems to be ahead of its time. Because if you listen to the pop charts right now, Tamba, you have the calypso rhythm real prevalent now too. Padu, padu,
Yeah.
padu, padu. You know, and it's like, you're hearing that and you're saying, but 20 years ago we was doing that and
those
we
African
wasn't getting no
percussions.
chart work, and now
You know?
Billie Eilish and all these big artists topping the charts using these same rhythms, and somehow we still can't capitalize on it. But as Zane said, where we do things and it's ahead of its time now. But I wanted to kind of home back in on something Devan was saying, because the reality is, when we say black, we're talking about anybody of color, people of color.
Frost, they use man government.
Right, sorry there. Frost. And it goes back to a point where Tamba said in 1979 he changed his name.
Yes.
And
So,
I would want to understand why. Why was it that you became an artist and you changed the artist name, like Kitchener, Lord Alwyn Roberts? You know, he
was
changed
it
his name
about,
to Lord
personal
Kitchener,
change?
Sparrow Slinger Francisco. You know, all these artists would change their name. Is it that you were becoming an artist? Why you changed your name? What was the process?
No, it was not that at all. The process was being conscious of my African heritage and the realization that the name I carried was not of my ancestors.
reflective of that.
And there's an interesting thing that I came about in reflecting on these years and actions we took, you know, and questions my children asked me over time. Like, for instance, the names I chose didn't come from one part of Africa. They came from various parts. Because people who were conscious of their heritage at that time saw Africa as one place, as one.
They never saw the
Right.
different tribes.
And didn't know that these tribes existed or these nations or ethnic groups existed. Not that we don't know that.
Right, yeah.
It's how we identified with Africa, how we embraced Africa
Right.
as being one continent. So wherever you took the name from, it may not necessarily zone into where your particular ethnic group might be from.
Right.
And why I'm mentioning that is because today now, with DNA testing and stuff, people could know if they were Yoruba
exactly
or
where you're
Igbo or, you know.
Yeah.
That's
In fact,
incredible.
a whole lot of the
Yeah.
people on the international scene,
Yeah.
in the diaspora, have been actually getting this information and knowing, well,
The full ancestry.
I am from Sierra, my father's side from Sierra Leone and my mother's side from Ghana or whatever,
Wow.
you know. And that is not only governing what type of names they choose, but people who are financially successful now saying, okay, they're going to build a school in Ghana
Yeah.
because the ancestor from maybe from the Ga people or
Right.
the Ashanti people, and so they feel they should give back something to Ghana.
Right.
So
Wow.
those changes have taken place with people giving names now, you know, or
Right.
taking names, adults taking names, because we were like young adults taking names, and we would look at a book of names and say, hey, we're going by the meaning of this name, and this name could be a South African name, it could be a West African name. We took it.
Music Media Marketing Management. M to the power 4.